So who's ready for Country Giga Toshou Con? I'm Aaron.
I'm Omar.
I'm John.
I'm Josh.
And this is Talking Points. So what's up, everybody, and welcome to Talking Points. Today we're joined with by Omar and John. Omar, of course, is the mind behind Country Giga Toshou Con, and John is his great friend that always comes to join us now, so it's always good to have them here on the set. Josh, of course, he's the asshole that runs ToCing. I'm the asshole that runs Talking Points. So, you know, today's episode, we're gearing up for Country Giga Toshou Con, and we thought, how about, you know, we just talk about the greatest moments in comics to get ourselves really pumped up for Country Giga Toshou Con. So, John, you seem to be the expert on comics here. We'll let you lead us into this discussion.
Well, like comics, you know, I mean, it's a long history going on there, and you go back to like the early Superman stuff, great moments of defining the superhero genre as we know it. Because I mean, I'd say before that you had, you know, Western comics. I mean, you had Disney comics even during the early 20s and 30s of Donald Duck and all kinds of other stuff, and then boom, Superman, Batman come onto the scene, and Captain America 40s, and what we think of today, way back then it began, it's kind of like movement forward, and it exchanged off of really like with stuff of Grimm fairy tales and all, and they even make comic books of that stuff. It's a form that kind of helps explain things, I believe, in a way that we can all relate to. Much easier than just watching the news or something. You read a comic book and there's little hints of suggestions of very big topics, and that's what really makes the great moments, when they nail on something that's like, oh, I can feel that and I relate. And then that's usually when you start reading a book, and then you get pissed off because they fire your writer, and you're like, oh shit, I mean, I was liking this guy, we were going somewhere. Superman's walking across the country, everybody hates him because he destroys our city. We don't even want him no more. And that guy got fired.
Now we're gonna be a whole new arc.
Yeah, now we got a new arc again. We always start over, you know. I don't know, that's a bit of an odd thing in the modern day of comics, I think.
Superman, come home, we forgive you. Because Steve said so.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Like, I notice how comics, the evolution of comics kind of changed with the times, like back in the 30s, 40s, mostly 40s, like wartime kind of era, and a lot of it wasn't like, not
Depression.
quite, yeah, like, there was always like messages like, you know, get your war bonds and, you know, turn in all your food rations.
Yeah.
And the dialogue of it and all, like 1960s, say Batman, it's like, gee golly, who says gee golly anymore? I mean, you go back to reading some old comics, and
take Batman.
There's just great moments in looking at the like innocence of those early eras.
I will
The real
figure out a way
tragedy
to say
is that
gee
there's
golly.
no more, you know, kablam images.
Pow.
Yeah.
Thought bubbles, except for Deadpool.
Holy shit. I have not seen the first POW in like the last 10 years.
It's been like a decade, at least.
It doesn't, I guess, don't think that appeals anymore. It's like comic books have took themselves a little bit too seriously in a
You
way.
just draw 3 lines behind a fist, and that's.
But I want to know what the punch sounds like. I want the was it a crack? Was it a pow?
I mean, there's a great moment. Yeah, that great moment.
Wolverine's claw.
Yeah.
Didn't they have words around the X-Men? Like, BAMF, like, the Nightcrawler had BAMF, and, am I saying that right? BAMF, BAMF.
Yeah, bam.
I'm about to look up the correct, I'm sorry, sure,
Had,
saying.
what did he say? What was it? Sheik?
And they each were very different in that too, in a way. I mean, DC, I'd say, was that one that had that more approach of goofy kind of fun with the bam and the pows, and then Marvel's like sounds and stuff. It got very interesting by like the 80s when we get into the more defined Marvel era of like Iron Man and Thor, and these big characters took over the books of like Journey into Mystery and Tales of Suspense and all of that, and the books changed in the 60s somehow. Instead of being just like a little collection of short tales, they became whole little stories, which eventually would become a marketing idea of, okay, let's break this up into a story arc and charge these little bastards money for the next year.
And
so
give you a little chapter like every month for the
yeah,
next 24 months.
we're gonna feed you out.
A whole quarter I won't pay for Foster's.
Oh, yeah,
And then we'll crossover collection a year after that for the same price.
Yeah.
Or more money because it's a hardback.
Yeah.
I mean, not even with just like comic books. Like back
Look at
then,
you, Civil War.
a dime,
Yeah.
a dime for a comic. Like things must have been really rough.
Well, DC back in the day had like for $1, 100-page issue, which is just like, wow, 100 pages of comic for $1. Now if you wanted a like 15, 16-page comic, it's $4.99, maybe $5.99.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
The last con we were at, I was looking at some old series that I used to follow. You know, I'll get back into it. Flipping around, $7.99 American, $10.99 Canadian. No.
The more you thumb through those long boxes, see the price like 35, 45 cents, whole dollar, $1.50. It's like a rising stock.
Yeah.
That's got to be some pretty expensive paper they're putting it on.
But
The
yeah,
ink quality hadn't gotten any better.
page quality's a little better. The oil on your fingers isn't so harsh anymore. That's about one of the only good things. Old comics back in the day, that was
Newspaper paper.
Yeah, you'd like read it so much, and that's why to find a gem in that old universe is hard to find a new mint comic book from like 1970s back. People read the books and they flip them pages and they're tattered up.
Yeah, I know. I would say probably 95% of all the comics that I own, just from turn to page,
Wash your hands.
every single one of them, at least one page down in this bottom corner, just from turning the page too quick.
You'd hear 5-year-old Josh, motherfucker!
Well, the comics back then also had a lot of cool features. It was like the little mail section where people would write in and
Letters to the editor,
Strong like
Q&A.
The X-ray glasses.
Hostess cupcake cats.
Yeah. Get your very own X-ray glasses so you can be like Superman.
Oh, I loved the guy. Like, he's like,
I never
Special
had to notice
edition
that.
science.
I was like always thinking I could take the X-ray like glasses to school and like see through, you know, dresses and tops.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Superman, that's what I'd used half of
Yeah, I mean,
the power for. I mean, like,
You're
you
flying
got pink panties on.
God, it's a
Yeah.
good thing you don't have to
I'm
force
psyched.
it.
Well, if I had to force, it'd be really bad.
Yeah.
The force,
You do not need that dress.
the force and X-ray glasses. That's too much power for one man.
Just that ability to like pinch my fingers, I mean, that would be really bad.
Yeah.
What? I didn't think so.
Yeah.
But they also had like coloring pages and like little mazes. Like little, it was almost like an activity book.
Yeah.
When you got a comic, you got 32 pages of just awesomeness.
And then
Back
there
then.
was those like parts where it, you do that patriotic part where, you know, it'd be like buy war bonds or something. If
Yeah.
you're going back to the like, say 40s and World War II era, Vietnam, Korea, that whole era was, comics were greatly defined by war.
A lot of the covers, like the one with Superman walking with the sailor and what was it, it was like 2 armed forces he was working with, and they were like hand in hand, and there was even some with like Batman and Robin with like a couple of sailors.
I remember one from the 60s that it had like Superman, I think, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and they were like in a tank, and the Teen Titans were laid out on the road, and it was like one of those hippie moments where like here's the adult Justice League and here's the young Teen Titans, and it was paralleling with exactly what was going on of parents versus teens, and it was like, that's a cool cover. I mean, I didn't get it at the time when I first saw it. I was just like, why is Batman trying to run over Robin? This doesn't seem cool. And then, you know, years later you understand, well, that was a very damn powerful political message that was like right on the front cover of a comic. When you walked into any place, you would have saw that, and it probably would have made you pick up the issue, and probably the story inside didn't have a damn thing to even do with that cover.
Yeah.
Because they were sneaky about that cover art and what actual content is in the comics. Sometimes it's
absolutely.
not comparable.
I guess because compared to some of those like detective comics, like those little crime, like true crime kind of, and they'd be like naked dames, and I have to say dames because that's how they used it back in that era. You know, like naked dames and like maybe like a bag of heroin was like as bad as it got, like sitting on the counter. Like all the thugs were like well dressed, like suited.
Yeah.
Well, that's another pretty big thing too, though. If you think about, like, say, moments in comic history, and you go back to the Superman, and like you got your prototype superhero cape, 3-color costume, because apparently superheroes don't have a big color wheel.
Yeah.
But then you go over to like the counterpart, Lois Lane. And if you think about how she is back then, she's very submissive. You have a very different thing going on with her that was mocking the time period of female roles in society.
This is true.
Think of how she is modernly, very brash and brazen, but then in there,
and
Wonder Woman.
She can actually
Really-
put 2 and 2 together.
Well,
Oh,
Wonder
Superman.
Woman is the breaking in that ground in a lot of ways. I mean, if you look at a lot of feminist movements and like stuff like that, real legitly, Wonder Woman broke ground as far as like women rights in ways, because she said and did things that real women wanted to do but didn't do. But when they saw that, those little girls all of a sudden said, all right, I'm going to do it. And actually, that moment in comic book history actually changed the real world. So that dude was pretty genius, even though he also liked to make Wonder Woman run off on little lesbian frolics in the woods with little nymphs. And then that's how we get the comic book association that finally said, okay, this material is not cool. We don't want our little daughters reading this. We want her doing this. So comic books at one point were censored to control the material we were looking at, because they were realizing that this shit's pretty powerful. It's affecting young people's minds, and so it is a very powerful form of medium, and it aims right at children. It's like Dr. Seuss in a way. I mean, he knew how to take a very big subject and break it down so a kid could digest it, and it changes the way people look at things.
Well, like going back to the World War II era, it was used almost as like a tool to boost morale for, because like sailors on the ship had nothing. I don't know why I keep saying sailors. There was other armed forces in them, and they just had nothing else better to do.
You got a thing for the Navy.
And they said they'd be in the trenches reading comics and writing their girlfriends letters while they're cheating on them back home and shit. And it was And I gotta be very careful how I word this next statement, but like, it was obvious in some of the Captain America comics, like the Nazis and the other groups that were helping Nazis were like, almost had like a snake kind of ratty look to them, like elongated noses and snouts, and like they want to make them look really evil. So like, Captain America was all heroic and, you know, Mr. Red, White, and Blue, and he was hitting Nazis and other particular groups that looked very villainous, almost satanic of sorts. I think like the first 20 issues of the actual first one, Captain America, he was beaten up. Like people on warships, and they all looked like rats and stuff. It was just really weird how they tried to make them like, hey, these are the bad guys' kids, you know, once again, going back to the war bonds and rations. And
it's like the image of a witch. Why does a witch have to be this chick with green skin and a crooked nose with a wart and black hair? I mean, we have the classic Wizard of Oz image in our head because that's what we were made to think a witch looks like. And that's what they're trying to drive in. These are villains, and that's how you gotta see it. What was really tricky, though, is like, say, with Batman. What if you was like a Japanese kid who's reading Batman, now all of a sudden here you watching and reading your comic? Because if you go back to the movie in the 40s, it's racist as hell as far as Batman versus Japanese. And I mean, that would be something, I mean, I can't really speak to it, you know, how that would work. Like, say, I don't know if German kids were reading Captain America, but then all of a sudden, here's Captain America.
They're probably
bashing
Hitler.
I mean, you know,
well, maybe not at the time, but after the war was over and it gets exported over there,
you're seeing something.
Before that, they were reading.
it's almost like it's mocking your heritage and your culture.
You gotta wonder what a North Korean comic book looks like. Probably Kim Jong-il wearing a cape.
Well, like with Iron Man, I mean, his history, I mean, I think he started out, what was it, North Korea? That's where the whole vent of the shrapnel got into him and all, and then more modernly in Afghanistan and all, but yeah. How would those cultures see that, you know? And I mean, that's why I'm a very traditionalist when it comes to comic books. I don't like changing history and rewriting things. Keep it the way it was. It was a good formula. Why you got to bastardize it?
Yeah, but it almost makes you wonder if they do the same thing that they do with certain video games and censor it around that culture. Like old Nintendo games, they would censor out, you know, busty NES characters or turn them into guys when they brought them over here.
I think Europe, that Avengers game, they actually did do that, where it was Captain America on the cover and they pulled him out and plugged Thor into Europe because it would have been a more cultural, identifiable character versus Captain America, which is just, you know, I mean, that's America.
Yeah. Well, I'll see your hand and raise it like that. Those old Fleischer Superman cartoons that used to come on like right before the movie started in the 40s, and they made people of Asian and German descent look very, once again, like ratty kind of, and like obvious stereotypical features, like the long eyes, and they talk like real like
it was very politically charged.
Yeah, that kind of
buck teeth, and the whole 9 yards.
And it was really uncomfortable to watch
it. The South Park treatment.
Yeah, and see, and that was a very negative way of like using that form. But we come around more modernly, and then you take the old classic Archie comics, and then Archie's dead now, I do believe, because you know he jumped in front of a gay kid. He sacrificed his life for somebody that back then they wouldn't have even touched that material. It wouldn't, and if they did touch it, it would have been
the opposite.
Yeah, it would have been totally opposite.
Him and the gang attacking that kid.
So flash forward to like the 50s. Do you think that's what Stan Lee was trying to do with some of his stories? Like he was trying to put a positive message out. Like with the X-Men, obviously, it's about like bigotry against a particular group of people,
mutants,
and he told that story very well. The Incredible Hulk, it was talking about the awareness of the effects and consequences of nuclear and gamma weapons. Everything had like a radioactive feel to it, or like commie spy kind of stuff. Because, you know, like, what was another one? Like you just said, Iron Man, you know, going back to in the cave, he was held captive by North Korea, he escaped. It was keeping up with the times, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did a really, really good job of bringing awareness to actual topics that existed back then.
Would say that definitely the greatest moments in comic history would be correlated to like great moments in our own history, like the death of Captain America, symbolizing the whole Patriot Act in our own government. I mean, that moment right there, like, made national news. The death of Superman, when that happened, made national news.
Oh gosh, that was... I remember seeing that like on the 10 o'clock news. I'm like, the 10 o'clock news is talking about a comic? Oh my god.
Just recently, when Captain America turned to a Hydra and is now a Nazi and whatnot, that even made buzzworthy news.
Pretty sure Fox News covered that.
Yeah, because it all kind of... It's like, what does this mean? People look at comic books and it translates across all kinds of different walks of life. You'd be amazed at the people who read comics. Some people read them openly and they're like, yeah, I love comics. And other people read them in the bathroom and hide and don't want you to know for whatever reason. But it's like...
They're so much more accessible and enthralling than like your typical political cartoon too. So you know, the cover artist can slide his own opinions in there, and you know, it makes for a damn good cover. But if you can see through that, you know, it's got just as much power as a political cartoon. But it's, you know, little Timmy gets this at the Walmart, and Mom finds it on the kitchen counter, and I was like, huh. Let me pick this up and read this. You know, and she reads it and finds out that the cover has nothing to do with the story. But that cover...
the jig is up.
That cover snapped something in her head that got her interested in it because of events going on in the world.
It's a alluring thing. I mean, you see something and then you just get intrigued and you want to know a little bit more. And it probably is good to be reading your kid's comics because, I mean, he might be reading something. Some of them comics are pretty raunchy. Heavy metal.
Yeah.
Heavy metal is not for young children.
No, not at all.
Neither is the movie.
My comic book store back then kept all that in like the mature room. Like this dang dark, like might as well been selling porn.
It's like going to a video store in the
You
room
see
that
there,
says
got a
21
trench coat
and
on
under, do not enter.
Yeah.
Black lights.
Yeah. Some hairy dude in a trench coat walks in.
Even Wolverine is like.
And Mad Magazine was like the
mature.
gateway between worlds.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful in them comics. You don't know what you might flip the page and see.
Well, even as conservative as it was back then, I'll go back to those true crime books. Those things were pretty gritty. Those things were really...
Well, if you're talking about like the actual magazine, what was it? True Detective.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And that was a magazine based off of very real crimes. There's actually an issue of True Detective that's set right here in Walterboro, actually, where a man, I do believe, if I'm correct, early 1900s, his sister passed away. And so he buried her in the hog pen so he could keep getting her monies. And finally his children were like, where's our aunt? And the whole jig got up. And that story made it in that magazine because it was just such an odd and weird story. So yes, Walterboro, we're on the map for some weird stuff.
Yeah.
So other than superhero comics, like I guess the other type of genres would be like detectives and GI combat,
Cowboys.
westerns, and even oh god,
Orphan Annie and stuff. Because, I mean, girl comics were there.
Tales in the Crib kind of stuff.
There
But,
was some Barbie comics.
yeah, female
Yeah.
comics, they were very
Hello
much
Kitty.
pushed in a certain way, though. They had to be
Strawberry
girls.
Shortcake.
Yeah, those little, like
Care
the
Bears.
little Lulu.
My
and-
Little Pony.
Basically every entertainment thing dabbled in comics at some point. Like,
Wonder Woman was the first over they got like a shield, a sword. I mean, all of
Yeah.
a sudden, women could be tough. And now you think about like Rogue and Jean Grey and all these female characters we have today. I would almost say that the female characters dominate the comic book universe in a lot of ways. I mean, hell, Iron Man isn't even a man no more. It's a female. Thor is a female. Females.
it's not even the first time he's been a female either.
So
There was a time where Pepper was Iron Man.
So that's something very interesting to see in the comic book universe, and there are all these little snaps of where you can see females and their roles taking over, like when Storm became the leader of the X-Men.
That was indeed a great moment.
That was long overdue.
Or the rise of Harley Quinn.
Because back then, even the strongest female
A
on a
character that didn't
team
even start out
always
in a
had to be
comic.
Yeah.
rescued
And she
by the
grew from a
males.
sidekick to
Her
a
own-
leader of a group and her own solo comics.
She broke a lot of ground. Between her and Storm, those are some really good points there.
Oh, there's some very good moments there on that line. I mean, Rogue, Kitty Pryde, like I say. I mean, Kitty Pryde was a very interesting character when you get into this young adolescent females who are taking on these big roles like Jubilee and whatnot, and it was
She got
taking
screwed out of
younger
the car too.
characters and putting them in, because they were like, I mean, here's little Jubilee running around with Wolverine and whatnot. That's a very oddball couple.
That is like to
And
take
he
to the
always had an
toughest
oddball.
Well,
one in the
you
group.
know, when the cartoon was being conceptualized, it was supposed to be Kitty. They, at the last minute, decided to go with Jubilee because it was supposed to be more relatable to teenagers.
I could see it in the 90s with her clothing concept and all, but it never really fit. They've always
Yeah,
kind of...
90s style of clothing.
And then people realized that she was Asian and got pissed.
I never could figure out what the hell she was. I never really worried about it, but I mean... as far
It wasn't
as-
important to me either.
Yeah, I didn't know she was Asian.
I think it was like the
Caucasian.
third season, part of the reason why I started losing ground with, what was it, Fox,
Yeah.
is because they were getting complaints that they were heroizing an Asian or some crap.
They must
I
have
don't
never
remember
heard
what was
somewhere.
going on in the 90s, because I was young.
Or maybe
we
that's
were
why
still
he got
kind of stuck in
kicked.
our ways, but we were breaking through that wall.
I know
things
there was
were open-minded.
some deal going down with like China in the 90s. So
Well, if you
that
think
might have
about
to
it,
do
I
with
mean,
it.
Asian superheroes today. I mean, when you get
They've
in...
chosen New Hulk, you know?
But that's new stuff. If you think about it, as far as like moments, and that's the thing over time, the like changing of the different genders and races of these characters. I mean, to find, other minority groups in the comic book universe, it's almost been kind of dominated. And you can watch it through the 70s and the 80s as they've tried it, and you see who succeeds and who fails. Like, say, Sunfire, even like a Luke Cage, who, he's been around a long time, and he's just now really been starting to get good traction as a character and being taken seriously. Or Blade. I mean, there's some really good characters who have gotten overlooked just because they didn't meet the demographic that they were targeting.
But see, once again, I'm going to be very careful how I word this, because this is just an opinion here. Marvel had a good way of not pointing out the obvious, but making it obvious that this particular person, this particular race, this particular genre, this particular gender, going as far as like North Star, things like that, could be superheroes too. Now you take the Super Friends, and I never realized this until watching it, but they were very obvious about a person's ethnicity or race, like Samurai, Black Vulcan,
Yeah.
Apache Chief.
Apache Chief, yeah.
These were El Dorado.
Yeah.
They were really setting a lot of fires as far as adding ethnicity to these
DC
groups.
and Marvel, I think, both handled that very differently in how they went
Absolutely.
forward.
into it a lot better than that.
Because
That's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Black Vulcan. God. I some reason I find the Samurai the most offensive one. It's just- but Marvel didn't do that. If it was a character of African American descent, Blade, don't have to point out the fact he's black. We all know that. The colorer, the inker took care of that.
Yeah.
We all know that.
And even with early Luke Cage, they kind of like put it in a box at first.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, I mean, you look at how it is today and say modernly, if you watch the Netflix Jessica Jones and all, there he is. I mean, here he is. You got Jessica Jones. You are hitting a whole new level. And that is all in great part for comics helping to break more barriers down that have been there. And you can look at the comic books and just kind of watch how those barriers have eroded over the last 50, 60 years.
So could you say that the X-Men had a 1-2 punch with that? Because when they reinvented the X-Men, they not only they kept the theme of like their group that's being persecuted and hunted because of who they are, but then they added different ethnicities, but they kept it cool. Like Thunderbird sounds a lot better than
all those
Apache
different
Chief.
ethnicities just went right into being persecuted and being different.
Storm, Colossus, Sunfire.
I mean,
it was cool.
The
I loved
choice
it.
to have Storm be black was a huge milestone in that.
And
the
she was
fact that
never a damsel in distress.
The fact that she was such a loved and accepted character right off the bat really, says a lot for the way Marvel handled that.
And once again, it always leads to the X-Men always seems to be the experiment when they want to break ground. Like let's start with this book and see what happens. And I can't really say it because even Spider-Man was a little controversial. I think they were the first one to talk about. Well, were they the first one to talk about drug use with that Green Goblin arc, or was it the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Speedy with the
Drug stuff came up all the time.
That was way back in Detective Comics.
In the 60s and
But they
whatnot,
both
there'd
lost
be
that
like
approval.
the guy smoking the doobie who's the bad guy that, they was going to rough him up. And, drug use, because 60s was very much dominated with like drug use, heroin and different things. And it would come up. There'd be like moments where Robin would be like, well, why is he acting that way, Batman? Batman be like, yeah, he's on that old reefers. And it was like, and that's helped to define ways people looked at it. I mean, everything in a comic book, almost in a certain sense, was meant to be deliberate. So when they want to vilify something, they can do it, and they can make a moment that goes around whatever they're trying to do, and it works great. Because comic books just have that ability to like subtly get in there, and you're wanting it, and you're doing it, and you don't even realize they're doing it to you because you're just reading and going along.
So would you say those two particular stories were an important part of comic book history because of they both lost the comics approval little? I think they were the first ones not to get that in years. And mainly
But good crossovers and stuff in the universe of like, big epic stories and battles. like the moment with Magneto, Wolverine, gut check, pulling out, you know, the adamantium, that left a big, long-lasting mark. House of M and Wanda, you know, saying no more mutants. Boom, that wiped out the whole like universe of X-Men and the mutant thing, which they're, you know, a pivotal part to the whole Marvel universe in a way. I mean, they were the franchise that kept things running a long time while the other books were not having all that great of moments.
Now, crossovers were a way of like, back then I think it had a purpose of like boosting up an up and coming comic or a comic that had poor sales, like guest starring Spider-Man, and then it would kind of rise up back in the 60s.
Yeah, or introducing the Spider-Man audience to the Fantastic Four series.
Letting those in the same
And
universe.
then, you know, instead of selling one comic, we're selling two comics. So
Yeah.
Well, one that I think the first ones, that was a probably great moment, and this is with two franchises, is the Secret Wars, the first time it happened. I do believe that is the first moment that we took characters from one universe, picked all our favorites, and we just put them in an epic battle against Doctor Doom. And it was a really strange moment because half of that book was based off of the X-Men fighting the Avengers, because Magneto was put in the hero side of things, because Magneto is not a villain. He's considered a hero in the greater cosmic level of things because he is fighting for his people. So what he's doing might be viewed radical, but is also considered noble from a certain perspective too, because his people are being obliterated.
They changed the landscape drastically. So many great moments came from that great moment. The black suit,
Yeah.
Spider-Man, with the introduction of Rhodey as Iron Man during that time.
I was close in that area, but I don't
Because
know
he was
if
a
that
major
when
player in that.
War Machine's big moment or not exactly. I mean, it's been a long time since I've looked at that book.
Yeah, that's
Now, Infinity Crisis on the other end of DC's, where we take everybody and mesh them into one big story, and that was at the latter half of the 70s. That was an epic moment. That's when we killed off, Supergirl?
Flash.
Supergirl from Earth 2 or 1, I don't even remember now.
people were dying, major
Flash.
players, and the story was a lot more dire because like the Anti-Monitor was wiping out.
And it introduced us to a concept that a lot of people hadn't even begun to think of in the realm of physics, as far as these parallel universes, alternate realities. Unless you were reading Lovecraft, that stuff wasn't being introduced to you, but now here's DC Comics taking a big concept and putting it to you. And I mean, there's some real scientists and people out there that believe that concept is the truth. That is the truth of how things exist. And so you're getting it in a comic and you can be like, oh, that's really cool, or that's totally stupid. But some people believe that's really how it works, and they're actually taking a concept and promoting it in a way. So
And as part of that, like it branched out a lot of different types of media during the 80s, such as like cartoons and toys and Secret Wars. It didn't do too well toy-wise as DC Superpowers did, but I think like Superpowers came out around that.
what defines the
Crisis.
DC universe? I mean, if you are a big fan of the DC universe, you know how, say, Batman's Arkham series, that's an alternate reality. Gotham, the TV show, there's another reality. I mean, DC has put its home in the notion of that we can write stories and have a lot of fun, but we're on Earth 3, or we're on Earth 2, or we're on Earth 52, because I've never even begun to figure out what this whole New 52 was. It was a great moment, but it didn't sell for me because it kind of like took everything I loved with Batman, who was one of my favorite characters. I have his collection of comics running almost over 30 years, and then all of a sudden we're going to say, New 52, and because every other book sucks ass, we're going to take the one book who's been holding this company up, and we're just going to throw all his history out the window. That was kind of my moment. I had to leave DC. So it was a great moment for them, a disappointing moment for me.
Yeah.
But could that proverbial reset button be like a godsend for artists and writers? Because coming into this, you're not just sitting down drawing. You have to keep track of what's happening. You can't do a story arc with, let's say, the Copperhead because he got killed off back in '62. you can't keep track of who's dead, who's alive, who's a figment of imagination, who is a hoax. So hitting that reset button, you're like,
if you're a good writer, in my opinion, you don't need that reset button if you're a good writer, though. That reset button, in my opinion, is like speaking to how, okay, we can't write nothing original, so we're just going to rewrite everything using the same skeletal structure. You're just going to put new drapes on it. So they hit the reset button, but are they really creating something new or just redressing something old where you could easily be like, any character can die, and you can imagine up a million different ways of how you could bring that character back.
Because nobody's ever truly dead in comics.
Yeah, no one ever is gone.
Prime died, what, 30, 40 times? Doesn't even mean anything
that's
anymore.
the greatest thing in the world. Killing a character off and bringing him back. Now, truly what would be epic is to actually kill a character and never bring him back. That would be a monumental moment.
I don't think that's happened since Captain Marvel. But when he died of cancer,
And is he really dead?
I haven't heard hide nor hair of him since.
It's kind of like Dr. Octopus. Is he really dead? Did the Vulture ever get it from the tumors? I mean, a lot of characters, they've been dying for years, but somehow they never died. So
Jean Grey. I think Jean Grey and Optimus Prime run neck and neck. That's probably who's come back from the grave. I don't even know why Scott even tries to shack up with another chick.
That
She'll be
actually
back soon.
is something that kind of sucks in a way, because it like diminishes that moment of when you get the hype and it's like, oh, Superman's dead. Because I remember believing that was going to be hardcore, legit, a lasting fact. And now it's almost like it's just a card we're going to throw out every so often. Oh, we're going to kill that character. And it's like, it doesn't have the same punch anymore. So it's almost like they've used that card too much.
It didn't even have the same effect in the movie. Because, I mean, you know he's coming back for Justice League. They've already advertised it.
Because of the times we're in. Back then when Superman did die, like, people were setting up real memorials, sending actual flyers and flowers. And I remember Transformers the movie, the animated, when Prime died, I was like, oh, shit.
Devastational.
I heard stories of kids locking themselves in closets because of that. It was a major thing. It was like a major thing. And Prime died very gritty too. That cartoon did not look
but they've used that card so many times.
That's the trick with a great moment.
You just know, all right, 5 or 6 issues later,
it's like the wedding thing.
The jumper cables are going to go on and Prime's going to rise.
Can Peter Parker and Mary Jane get married and break them up, reunite, break them up, reunite? How many moments can you be slapped with that and finally just be like, I could give 2 shits less. I preferred Gwen Stacy in the first place.
The story doesn't hold water.
I mean, you've done it too much. Just don't do it no more. I mean, let's go somewhere else and do it. I mean, Rogue and Gambit, we had a really great dynamic thing going there, and they never finished that thread of a story. It was a good thing going. They just dropped the ball.
So I guess,
but they could pick it up later.
That's true, they did.
And it would still be fresh.
Yep.
Because it's not overly stale yet.
Exactly. They can still make a moment.
Death of Superman, it's not happened 5 or 6 times, and all different types of
Can't break Batman's back again. It's been done. Don't do it again. I mean,
I guess that would kind of tie into my personal favorite moment in comic book history, the idea that the superhero became passé. The idea is that the Marvel, the comics approved authority of like, you can't kill off a good guys can't curse, no drug use, things like that. I think my personal favorite is the branch off, the landscape shift when Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, all these guys left their respective companies and formed Image. And Image was
dark and
gritty,
it was off the record.
They blew up the bunker under the fucking bunker.
We do.
And that's exactly the message they put out. And that was a large chunk of geography they took over from the United States and worldwide, because they proved that, hey, DC, Marvel, there's a new kid in town and he's holding his own. They were like the ECW of comic books.
And
they held their
at
own.
A very stale moment in comic book history. I mean,
it was passé back then.
X-Men had just about done all they could, and there wasn't no new generating ideas. I mean, Spider-Man was having the horrid clone saga that just was like, forgot in Spider-Man history almost. It's like, who's this Ben Reilly again? I mean, that was overly drawn. So they had a like fresh, fertile ground of being able to create brand new origin stories and just run with the ball for as long as they could.
Break the rules. You got Spawn.
But did it work? Is what you got to ask
People.
yourself. Like Spawn. He's still with us. He's had a little hiatus, but I mean, he's coming back. But say Savage Dragon or the Wildcats or some of those other titles you like, where are they today? I mean, how far can you run with that ball before it's like, okay, we're starting to cross back over and be Avengers or whatnot? You got to make a viable character, and that's the hardest part, is creating a character that can last decades.
Image Comics was they killed themselves in a way with that first generation of superheroes because of the way the company was being ran. From what I understood, it was almost like WCW. There's no rudder. There's no captain at the stem. Everybody was just kind of, they want to be individuals, they want to do their own thing, but when everybody's doing their own thing and no one's answering anyone, at least back in Marvel, they had Stan Lee to filter their ideas through him, and Stan would be like, yeah, that'll work, or no, I think we should change that.
It's the canon.
Yeah.
You gotta have a canon, and when you put things in the canon, that's that. It should stay. Star Wars, apparently they don't understand it. They don't know nothing about canon.
Absolutely not.
Marvel, yes, was very much about canon. Now things are getting shook up in that jar a touch because for all of them, they run to a point to where it's like, how do we create that magical moment again? I mean, how do we recapture the invigoration of a fan into a book? Like Daredevil. I mean, he had some really great moments in the early 80s, and he introduced us to one of our greater writers and whatnot, Frank Miller. I mean, Frank Miller took Daredevil to a whole new plateau, and then he left. He went to DC, and then he took Batman to great heights. So you get this genius man who can create moments that kept us following him. So we followed him wherever he went, and then those poor other books hit flat. And it became the burden of some other writer and art team to come together and go, what do we have to do to put into this formula to make this guy have a moment again to where fans are charged about what he's doing? And that's the truly hardest probably part to keeping a viable comic running for more than a year or two, because most writers, they only run about a 12 issue to maybe 24 issue run. You get 12 in a month, and that art writer, he's there, and the next thing you know, he's gone. Like Matt Fraction and like Goff John, some of the great guys, they got taken away from even doing probably what they loved most because they were so good at it, at creating those moments that you were like, Rebirth of Hal Jordan, oh my God, this is great stuff. And now he's running DC Comics because he had such brilliant ideas, and I've almost am afraid for him. It's like, you poor bastard, man. All these great ideas, now you got to share them to every franchise in the company. He's going to be burned out shortly and have no more great ideas to like work with.
But they're doing things traditionally in the right way. Like Joe Quesada, who took over Marvel for a time, he was in between worlds. Like, he liked what Image was doing at the time in that particular group, but he believed you had to have standards because I think, like with Image, they were doing their own thing. They were relaxing, they were having fun, yeah, but it was the first time comics were late and overdue. I think the big gap between Youngblood issue number 3 and issue number 4 was almost like a year, and that's because they were slacking ass and they had no one to keep them in check. And I think that's what ultimately killed that first incarnation of Image Comics. Stan Lee, yeah, he might have been a tight son of a bitch to work for, but comics got put out on time every month. You couldn't get your artwork to par, another artist took over, and it was.
And they worked very, very hard to say with crossovers and long-lasting franchises. House of M, that had to conjive with that. We're getting ready to write Civil War and all these big pivotal moments. They have to kind of go through a check process to like say, okay, we got to hold back here because we want to intensify this moment happening over here so we can help boost sales in this comic. So this event's going to happen here, which is going to come to play out over here because this book sells. Everybody will find out. And if you didn't buy that one, you'd be like, shit, I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. Now you got to go buy that book you didn't ever buy before. And next thing you know, you're buying every Marvel comic there is because they're smart. They're taking that story and putting the right moments in the right places. And if you want to see them, you got to buy the book.
like Civil War, that's the main branch of it, but then or even going back to Secret Wars, you had to get the crossovers, the parts of the X-Men 388,
Gauntlet,
389. Yeah, exactly.
Infinity Gauntlet was a very good one for that because you got the bulk of the battle right there in the 8-issue book. But it was all over the Marvel universe where you saw cool stuff like Incredible Hulk got shrunk down that small and he was like in a sewer fighting rats, and it was like, this is some cool stuff. It was a great moment. I mean, it was mini Hulk and he's still badass.
And you're not going to see that stuff when they bring it to the movies.
No.
Unless somehow they acquire the X-Men back.
And those are like moments that...
Because, I mean, they're a crucial part in that. They're going to have to fill that gap somehow.
Because that's how, I mean, you have to like really ask yourself, what do you define as a great moment in comic book history? Is it the moments where you see the Wonder Woman breaking boundaries or the X-Men breaking boundaries? Is that the great moment on a much more epic level? Or is it just that moment when you finally see Peter Parker kiss one of the many girls that you're like, God, is you ever going to hook up? And finally, we get there, you know? I mean, that moment of build-up, and those are other great moments. Or when you finally see that villain who you're like, that son of a bitch needs to get his. Finally, he gets his. I mean, those are the things that, you know, which ones are your greatest moments? Which ones speak more to you? What are you looking for?
Well, like with from an artist and a writer standpoint, the comic as a whole has to sell, but it could be that one image, that one panel that really gives that OMG factor. That the Hail Hydra we were talking about earlier. Everybody's so focused on that one last panel.
Or it could be a joke. That well-placed joke that you're like, wow.
That image still, when you brought that up, I had so many feels, because that image still messes me of him just like, and he's crying and it hurts.
Oh, Wolverine?
He popped his claws and there were bone and blood was dripping down. He's on it like he's in such agony, and to see Wolverine crying.
Because he was the ultimate badass. I mean, we all aspire to be like this ultimate badass Wolverine, and in that moment we realized even he's vulnerable. The most seemingly invulnerable character in the Marvel Universe is weak. And he can have things about his being that can be exploited, especially with Magneto. Now, after the metal's gone, he's back to Bone Claws. He's pretty badass once he figured out what was going on.
What was that storyline? That was Fatal Attractions.
Yep,
there was a lot of ramifications from that. I think X-Force was imploding. They had internal problems. Colossus punching Bishop in the back during the funeral for his sister. That was impact. Colossus was so loyal, and like, you wouldn't think he was such a drone, a soldier, for him to have an opinion, less enough an opinion to go to Magneto's side. That one image, that one panel captured all that, the shot right to the kidneys in Bishop. That was like the betrayal.
It seems that was like right around the time that you had the kind of implosion of the team. I mean, X-Men had reached such a level of like, at the latter half of the 80s, the only way they kind of knew how to keep things going with it was create a new character, and some of them were successful, some of them failed, and then at that one moment it was like, we need two teams. So that's when we got like Storm, leader of one team, Cyclops, leader of another team. So you had your traditional team and this new modern team, and it all kind of was leading to that point to where we got to the Fatal Attractions, and you started seeing the team implode. So that was like another moment of what, like 25 comics of building for a moment of that. Yes, the X-Men are looking like a very great unified team, but we're going to rip them apart and we're going to have fun with this. And they did it in an epic way because it kept people driving. Everything else at that point, Marvel Universe was like at its bottom. I mean, pretty much I can't think of anything at that point in time that was really great moments happening in the Marvel Universe except for the X-Men.
Now, the only thing better than the actual image, I would say, would be the actual story, the release of that plot point, that surprise, which they didn't have cell phones, it wasn't media.
You didn't even know
AOL was so slow, you couldn't look shit up like that.
Well, it's like, you know, and spoiler, so cut off right now, but the new Civil War stuff and what happens to the Hulk. that kind of sucks how that works nowadays, where a great moment can be easily ruined. And I'm not even going to say what happened, so I don't mind the spoiler, but nonetheless, yeah, spoiled. Bad things happen to the Hulk, and that sucks when you read it on like social media, these great moments that are about to come up and somebody has to go ruin it for you.
Somebody snaps a picture of the page and grabs it up, and
you can't unsee what you've seen.
Well, I'm going to ruin some stories and take the Tower of Babel series from DC. That took Batman to a whole new level, and they made him like such an asshole. Like, he was not one to be fucked with. Like, don't mess with me, buddy. I got plan B, C, D, and E. And people looked at Batman in such a different way that even carrying on forward, the artists, writers, movie directors took and made Batman such a dangerous motherfucker to deal with.
He was always an asshole.
Of him.
I mean, Batman was always an asshole.
G, golly whiz, and all that bullshit.
I mean, we're talking about the Batman who took fire out and scared Martian Manhunter. We're like, yeah, you don't like fire? He knows everybody's weakness and he'll use it.
And he had the bat.
I got a piece of kryptonite in my belt right here for you, Superman. Go ahead, step out of line. You probably got red kryptonite.
Are you guys caught up with the Tower of Babel storyline at all?
No.
Have you seen Justice League Doom?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much that, but on a grittier scale. Him having all these plan Bs for when these guys go rogue, because he's so consumed with Superman going rogue, and a great moment in history, that'll always make money.
He's got them contingency plans for all of his friends.
But how much of a dick move can that be? Like, if I found out you had a plan to deal with me if I ever went off the Primrose path like that, I would be so insulted. Like, what the fuck, dude? You had that thing waiting for me the whole time?
Well, if you were
You
like
shook
the
my
little
hand,
beast, I would
my
have to
best
figure
man
it
at
out.
my wedding.
I mean, in that universe, you know, hey, you gotta have contingency plan. I mean, evolution.
Gotta look out for number one.
Like Spider-Man, I mean, what do you do when he like evolves to the point he's got 6 arms and he's running around with a spider head and doing bad things? Hey, you gotta have a way to take his ass out of the game.
Well, they can't
Just happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Iron Man with all his different suits, he had a suit prepared for everybody's ass too. The Hulk Buster, the newly discovered Thor Buster from the figure you gave me, and I had to inquire. I was like, holy shit, he was ready for Thor. Like, that's pretty
he had
amped up.
a plan for most of them, for sure.
But was there a plan for himself? And that goes for Batman too. Like, you're so worried about these other fuckers. What if you get brainwashed and get told to go and kill people?
I think for Batman, it was always an insecurity too, because he always knew that, you know, most of the people he's running with could whip his ass. I mean, that's what makes Batman great.
Yeah,
he's
just
human.
a normal guy with a lot of money and a lot of toys. He doesn't have any. He's not an alien or have mutated cells that allow him to do this and this and that. And
same thing with Iron Man too. He's not a super soldier. He's not a radiated human being. He's just a man in a suit.
he's not a god.
He needs that contingency plan for security. So that's a thing that, you know, both Iron Man and Batman would share, is that they probably are very insecure individuals, and that helps them to be more comfortable at night.
And the story didn't really do much for Iron Man's status quo, but I would consider Tower of Babel a very important moment in comic books history, because it just showed that, you know, there was real feelings. There was almost feelings of jealousy, of hatred, of fear. You wouldn't do some shit like that unless there was a percentage of you that was scared of that individual. So I think Batman's personality and the way he was viewed by the public, it came a long way from the, hey, I got all this license, I got Batcopter, a Bat car,
Shark spray.
Bat intro pills, I got all this Bat stuff, you know. I think the character changed for the rest of the
Batman history. Not a great moment in Batman history, but a horrible one, that is.
But, you know, we've talked a little bit about DC and Marvel. We really haven't touched too much on Dark Horse. I mean,
Lady Deathstrike, Evil Ernie,
Alien versus Predator, for instance. I mean, that was a great moment in both of those franchises, you know, because you're introducing both of these two iconic monsters together. Which, you know, I'm a big AVP nerd anyway, so, you know.
The Star Wars franchise got real gritty and down and dirty during there.
But then there was also the Luke saga, you know, the clone Luke with the 2 extra U's.
You're gonna ride that horse to the fucking ground.
Yeah.
That's the 3rd time that's come up. on every show.
Dark Horse was just very much that. I mean, I think that name spoke for that company. They were the Dark Horse of all the groups
Judge
out
Dredd
there.
out there. You had.
They meant that they were going to like take, you know, some very hardcore stuff and bring that to that audience of fans that wanted to see more grit and more.
Yeah.
Even beyond the
Gore,
image.
yeah.
Especially with the Alien comics, you got a lot more gore in those comics than you would normally with.
And more story than you would have had in the movies.
In the movies, I mean, I've actually gone back and read the books that were, you know, adapted from the comics, and it's funny how originally in the comics it was like Ripley, Newt, and Hicks, and then all of a sudden, you know, it becomes the adventures of Newt and Hicks, and then finally it's these two other characters who Billy and whatever they renamed Hicks. But I mean, it's so awesome just how they
fleshing it out.
Yeah, they fleshed out this, and then all of a sudden you get different variants of the xenomorph as well, like the bull xenomorph. You get the king.
Bull's my favorite.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Gives them that.
The gorilla one, you know, that was pretty interesting. You know, so on and so forth. You get these different types of xenomorph.
Even the crossovers, it was like what, the Superman versus Alien,
Superman versus Alien,
Batman versus Predator.
Batman versus Predator.
Those were pretty gritty, and dark and dank.
Judge Dredd meets Batman, you know, for a couple of them, I think. So, yeah,
and then that was like another part too with Image and Marvel, and you could see how they kind of like kept together when you'd have like Wolverine and Witchblade and a couple other little crossovers between those universes. I think not Spider-Man, but Batman and Spawn met up.
Yeah.
At Batman, once again, Batman's an asshole.
Yeah,
he left off, boom, batarang right in old poor man's face.
People are actually still looking for those books to this day. The Batman Spawn crossover. I still hear people looking for those in comic book shops. So that
I have a graphic novel. Hit me up. It's for sale. It's a great moment.
Now, I almost hate to bring this one up, but it is unfortunately an important part of comic book history. You know, right up there with Bone. The very unfortunate execution of the DC versus Marvel. People wanted to see it for decades. It was the best storyline ever that was executed the worst possible way. The art was crap. It was probably some of the worst artwork I've ever seen in a major publication. The storyline could have been written a lot better. It was such a missed opportunity. That's just my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about the
That's the
Anagram
one that everybody
series.
got to vote on, right? Where people like kind of put in their notion. So it was like
they want to see fight.
Well, I thought it was on the outcome too. So like it was basically determined by the fans. Whoever voted for this character the most, that was who was going to win the battle, which is not fair because, I mean, it's not accurate.
You had some good fights like Cap versus Batman, Spider-Man versus Superboy, Flash and Quicksilver, Namor, Aquaman. Just the execution was lukewarm at best.
It's always a weird thing though when you let the fans kind of have a say in it, because that can kind of ruin the story to a degree. They don't use logic per se in how does Superman beat Captain America or how does Wolverine and Batman, how all these different fights, you know. The outcome doesn't make as much sense when we get to vote on it.
Absolutely
versus
not.
if they would like maybe put a little work in it.
They say that Superman's got to win this, so
Yeah, I mean,
figure it out.
Yeah, roll for initiative.
pretty much.
Superman breaks Captain America's shield.
But yeah.
All right, he wins.
Yeah.
But we go back and we had the moment of when we got to vote on whether Jason Todd got to die or not.
Yeah.
We finally get the Killer Robin. And across the board, it was pretty much unanimous.
Yeah.
We want to kill Robin. And we got it in an epic
that was
way.
a pretty big moment to me.
Yeah.
Agreed. That was a
and
good
then-
moment. Not a good moment. Whoops.
Brutal.
That was a brutal.
It was a brutal moment.
The killing
And
joke.
then his return, and the killing joke, and all that. That's probably one of my most favorite Batman, like, overarching stories of all
I
time.
can't wait to see the cartoon.
Referring
of
to
that.
like the death in the family or the killing joke.
Yeah, just the whole thing from the Jason Todd getting killed, Rise of the Red Hood, and then the killing joke is just great.
Yeah.
It's kind of culminated in Hush, didn't it?
It's probably a bit before Hush, because that was all early 80s, and Hush is probably more, 90s, 2000s in there? That's around the Long
Late
Halloween.
2000s.
I think that's Long Halloween.
So that was Jim Lee's big return to comics.
All three of those stories are like, in my opinion, like the best executed and story-wise of all Batman arcs.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Recent times.
Almost
definitely.
terrifying moments. I mean,
It was,
since when
it was
Gordon's
very
got that
sense
little
of dread, yes.
cherub-looking dudes poking things in his butt. I mean, that moment, like Killing Joke, was very disturbing. And the end of it, I mean,
You turned the page, you didn't know what you were going to see.
I hope the movie stays true to it.
there are certain moments
There's a
that
reason
if
why they
they
put a
fail
capital
to
H at
capture that, they will have failed to, translate it over correctly. But with Mark Hamill and certain people involved, I would think that they would be like, no, this has to be done this way. Same thing with like Ryan Reynolds, like being such a Deadpool fan in that regard, that he said there's just certain aspects, certain moments that we have to capture on film that are iconic to the comic, or if we don't get that right, we won't have a successful movie.
Yeah.
Chic.
So would you say that not really such a great moment, it was actually a bad moment in their history, but for Image, when they started putting their stuff out for licensing, like for them to go Savage Dragon and Wildcats as a Saturday morning cartoon, and then Spawn goes to HBO and there's like rapes and killings, and it was from one extreme to the other in such a horrible executed way, because neither one worked very well. Neither one
I think it would be
lasted very
more
well.
about the writing. I mean, you can take it all over the place. You can take, Marvel does it all the time. They got the little, like, what the hell is that thing where it's like a little town of superheroes and Stan Lee's over it and all, and it's like geared up for,
The
toddler.
Sierra Squad.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very childish version, of the universe, and it's aimed specifically for a demographic. And it's actually pretty decent. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny. It's got quirky little moments that capture, essences of the larger character. And then on the other side of it, you got these other animated films that's like, ooh, that's pretty gritty stuff right there. That's getting down into it. Then we go into full-on series like Daredevil on Netflix, Jessica Jones on Netflix. Now we're going to get
Very well done, by the way.
what is it? Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher's getting his own
Iron
series now.
Fist.
And like through, I mean that's Netflix, but it's
Well
more
done.
appealing than previous movies.
They did
Yeah.
their research and
Well,
they...
Jessica Jones is just like, wow, what is this, a raunch fest? I mean, I was not expecting it to be as adult as it is, and it is not for children by any means. You should
Yeah,
not
that's
let
my watch
I mean,
list.
I'm kind of hoping that Electra will take off on Netflix and not be the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far we've
Because
said
out of that group, what was that, third team or whatever, third tier or whatever. Electra was my favorite from that group, close followed by Punisher.
like the B Squad kind of...
But the Punisher movies, all of them, all those renditions, they're like 3 different actors, 3 different origin stories. They're all
Bland.
not good.
Yeah.
Had good points and moments that like capitalized.
They had potential. If any of them would have been greenlit for a sequel that would have been worth anything, it could have become something good.
Even like
But I
Garner's
just
version.
felt like it's just here's this character by name only, or in Punisher's case, he's wearing that T-shirt with the skull on it.
Which in the 80s was very much a no-no. Like, my parents would not let me read Punisher. They checked it out, and it was like, shit, there's no fucking way you're...
I think one of the worst things to the Electra movie is that they didn't capture on what made her great, and it was that she was very bloody and gory, and she used her sex appeal a good bit in the way she dressed, and they totally missed all of that with every aspect.
They didn't even start to touch on any of that till like the last 10 minutes.
And very poorly
And
done.
by then it was over.
It was a very long, drawn-out movie that just did not realize what made this character cool and why we want to see her. I mean,
Well, I think that was something that all superhero movies
you got
failed to capture until, the early 2000s.
Avengers when Hulk's like, boom, and hits Thor and knocks him through. Epic moment. Small and as minute as it is, that is what is the Avengers. That is that camaraderie among them and shenanigans that you're like,
Or the Loki moment.
yes.
So that kind of leads to my. It's more of a question, like an opinion from my peers than anything else. The one common denominator with all these conversations we've had thus far is that controversy and grittiness equals cash. Do you feel that the only way to boost the sale and reinvigorate interest in a comic book, a franchise, or a character is to become grittier, darker, more violent?
Not at all. It's all about good
The
writing.
Ultimates, for instance.
Good writing and great moments. Because, I mean, you can take the most innocent moment of a wedding that gets ruined by Dr. Doom showing up, and it don't have to be bloody nasty or anything. I mean, it just creates suspense.
Yeah, it's not like a George R.R. Martin wedding where it's going to be bloody and nasty.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually, the fact that you brought it up, the very first comic book that I ever got was Sonic the Hedgehog issue 18, and it was old school Sonic, you know, with the chipmunk and the walrus and all that.
Before it got all serious.
And the cover was Sonic and the chipmunk were getting married, and for some reason I was drawn to that, because, you know, Sonic was just, you know, the game had just taken off and it was a big thing. And the whole story arc was, you know, it's this wedding, and then you find out in the last couple of pages that it was just like a play in order to draw out Robotnik for something. I don't remember exactly what, but it was basically a ruse to be a trap. And, you know, there's not really anything dark or gritty there. It was just, here's this happy event that has a second nature to it.
I think that dark, gritty thing draws appeal. We look at it, it has shock value, but it has no lasting sustainability.
No, it never does.
I think you
Other
need all
moments.
those other events like weddings and, you know, Jubilee getting her driver's license or whatever to, you know, build a relationship with the character so that when Civil War happens, you know,
The dark moments have meaning.
what's going to happen to Iron Man? I don't want to see anything bad happen to Iron Man. You know, I got to be the first one to get that issue because if something bad happens to Iron Man, I better not find out about it on Facebook.
I mean, the greatest part to the journey of comic book characters, superheroes, and villains for us all is to know the origins, to see that journey to that like apexing moment of whatever it is they're going to do, and then we like to see the fall. And I mean, it's the rise and fall effect in a character, and to do it well, you have to create many significant little moments for the bigger epic moment to even have any value of worth to you. Or
You have to give the characters a life.
So with all those paths, and sometimes companies just see the real dark thunderstorm, gritty, and they're like, let's go down this road. And in like 1988 to 1989, Marvel took all their characters and they had issues, they had problems. The X-Men were on the run. They were a nomad group. The Hulk was gray and was dark as shit. Spider-Man was rocking the black costume. He was actually like hurting people almost to the point of death. The Fantastic Four had the Thing go through that really grotesque metamorphosis where he looked even more rocky than before. Like 88, 89 for Marvel was one of those really bad dark cloud moments because everybody was changing, everybody was different, everybody was a lot more in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for them, it's very different too. Though they're looking at it from a creative, financial standpoint, and they're looking at numbers, and they're like, "Oh God, we got to create a moment. We got to have something happen." And too many times, rather than like look for what's organically growing there in the book already, they try to force a scenario, and it falls flat. I mean, how many times have they forced a script on you, and you're just like, "Yeah." And then at the end of it, you're hoping for this like big epic moment that you're like, okay, it was worth it, but it just never was organic enough to even have made it there. They're forcing something and it ain't gonna work, so you don't capitalize on that moment of epicness, like Superman's death. It was epic then, it's not epic now.
No.
I mean, it wasn't right, it wasn't done well, but you know, other moments you can go back through to where something else more tragic happens to him and you're like, ooh, yes, that was like, say, Bruce Wayne when his parents are killed, or Superman when Krypton blows up. That was all little origin stuff, but we all go back to it. Why? Because it was an epic moment, and it came in like the first 5 lines.
So those were obviously great moments.
And God knows how long
In
it took
history.
those writers to think up those first 5 lines of epicness that have lasted across decades.
So change doesn't always equal an automatic great moment in comic history. Sometimes it could just be a
you could
ploy
take
to
it
boost
down another
ratings
path.
temporarily.
Like, I think the reason why we all read certain ones or watch certain movies, play games, whatever, is because we build a connection to where we see, you know, a piece of us in that character. So like the Spider-Man thing where he's in the black suit and he's hurting people. That could be, you know, you have a dark side, you know, this could appeal to that or make you fear your dark side. Or take it from a completely different standpoint. Spider-Man is doing stuff that I don't really like. You know, it's kind of like having a relationship with somebody, breaking up, and then he returns to a red suit, gets his mind straight, you know, saving people again. You know, it's kind of like, all right, we can get back together now, but you gotta have that rocky point in the middle of the relationship to make that grow stronger.
See, I can totally relate to that because, as everybody knows, Beast is my favorite guy. Like the actual pure comic book cartoon version of the Beast. That you could talk about my mother, you could call my kid a bastard. You bring up the Dark Beast and I'ma fuck you up.
What about,
I hate the Dark Beast.
what
I actually
about the
hate
Beast and the New
the
Defenders?
character of it. He's not as bad as the Age of Apocalypse Dark
Defenders.
Beast.
But-
But could it be argued that without that story arc, would you feel, if that had never happened, would you have felt the same about Beast prior to, Beast post that? Or do you think that that little dip in your appreciation for him actually makes post Beast more appreciative?
I think it perverted the character in a very, very negative way. That it was a path that didn't necessarily have to be gone down, like the '80s the emergence of the Grey Hulk. I don't think that was necessary, but maybe it was just a boost in sales. Now,
But it did work
it was
then.
a dark side that hurt the character.
oh, absolutely, it hurt. It tarnished his rap.
But it
very
made
much.
you
But
appreciate
you
the other
appreciate
one.
the character still. Not
good
that version, the good version.
Oh yes, very much so. Very much so.
But it
I,
showed you a darker side that you don't ever want to see again.
No, because
I think that's
you
necessary.
suspect that in everyone else, like Cyclops, Gambit, obviously because of another great moment, Gambit, The Secret. He led the Morlock massacre. He led the charge with that. Everybody has dark moments, but Beast was supposed to be that one that held that lit candle no matter what.
But everybody has a dark side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
I think
that
it's
showed it.
important that even a character that's, you know, built in the light so much needs to experience that, because
Those
in a
moments
more
of
symbolic way, it shows that we all have, you know, a lapse in judgment, a moment of weakness. We all have demons from the past.
Like the Black Suit Spider-Man, the great. Now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the historian with this. The '80s wasn't the first appearance of the proverbial Grey Hulk, because before he was predominantly green, he was gray in those first couple of issues. Is that true, or was that like an inking problem?
Well, I think that when Marvel first started out, they had 4 colors of ink. Like you had green, red. Literally,
Orange, beige.
there were only like 4 colors to make your characters with. That's why they all had like those monotone suits and outfits. So they didn't have a lot to work with.
So the gray wasn't intentional during those first couple of issues.
I don't know that it was intentional or unintentional.
It's
It's just
lack of resources,
just-
because the
yeah,
printing presses.
yeah.
So they stumbled into a storyline, is what you're
later
saying.
on. Later on, it became significant because nobody really even probably noticed that the shift from Grey Hulk to Green Hulk even happened until they tried to do it again later and then put it into like this Joe Fix-It storyline because they were trying to create a moment. That's the problem for them. On their side, they have to create the moments that we want. But how do they know what the moments are that we want, or the ones that are going to be a success? They throw them out like that, and they hit, miss. And for us, it might be very easy to like say what we want as the epic moment, because it's already here for us in our head. We can make up our own epic moments for these characters, but when we see it on the pages, then you know there's an identifiability with other people. It's like, we can all identify around this one event happening. And that's really the true great moment, because it shows that we all share kind of in a concept, and we come together in that moment and concept of thinking.
So that was one of those. It wasn't a great. It wasn't a memorable moment for the Hulk, but it was a different path to kind of boost sales, man. Because like I think Rick Jones became the Green One right around the same time that Banner became the Gray. Like it was a weird storyline.
For the 80s, everybody who wasn't an X-Men or Spider-Man was in a very awkward place. They didn't all have the greatest of writers working on them. Other talent was on those other ships, and so a lot of things went
McFarlane was on
down.
that Grey Hulk run, if I'm not mistaken.
He might have got to work on the Joe Fixit line of things, but early on in the 80s, it was a bit spotty, I mean, in some ways. I mean, one of the reasons that one Hulk comic that's worth so much from that era when he fights Wolverine, that was a moment right
The
there.
cover.
That cover art, they threw this character in, Wolverine, and that was gold. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost willing to, I can't be honest, sure, but I think he had already made his X-Men debut, had he not? Or had he?
Wolverine. And prior to that
I'm not
the
sure.
cover?
Like, I mean, I guess Incredible Hulk was his first appearance, but then you got X-Men 100 has to be about where he first starts taking a serious role in a book, and how closely those two correlated and how much planning was done into it to like say, alright, we're going to make him here, give him a little quick origin story, throw him up against Hulk, test out reaction, because we know in a couple months he's about to get dropped in the new X-Men book.
Now, could that also, like you just brought up a really good point, could the evolution of a character as far as what their place in the world and in most cases the universe be, could those be described as great moments? Like Galactus, we learned over a couple of decades he wasn't evil, he wasn't good, he was just, he is. I think that's how Dr. Doom worded it.
Yeah.
He just is. He has to do what he has to do to survive. He doesn't mean to, but he's not going to stop either. It's not that these planets taste good. It's just I gotta do this. I'm sorry. I gotta eat.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta eat.
He could be
eat.
more selective and pick less populated planets. So he is kind of an asshole. I mean, he's like, I don't care. You're in my path. I'm gonna eat you.
Maybe it's kind of like Frosted Flakes versus Fruity Pebbles. Humans are like Fruity Pebbles, or sentient species taste like Fruity Pebbles.
Or even Magneto going through that. Look, I tried your way. I really did, but I gotta do what I gotta do for my people. Like
Cyclops right now.
villains have causes.
I'm pretty sure Cyclops right now has had an axe chopped on his head, and he's dead. He's gone. He's done. He went
Thank
rogue
God for
and
that.
went
I
crazy
fucking hate
again.
Cyclops.
And so it's all, he reached that moment, and it was always being foreshadowed that Magneto was always telling him, you're going to end up like me. Eventually, you're young and idealistic. You think that Charles's way is going to be all great and good, but eventually enough bad's going to happen to you, and you're going to be like me. And that's exactly what they worked to. Now, did that moment, because I didn't read it in the magazine to see completely the fall of Cyclops to the death of him, did they do it right and really make it epic? Or did they just kind of throw it all out there on the table? I mean, and it not go over well. I'd have to read the book to give a full
I was going to say,
judgment.
I'll go to you guys, but wasn't the evolution of Cyclops' character culminated in AVX and Fear itself? Like, Fear itself brought that little hint of he's got Magneto in him, and then AVX, spoiler, he killed Professor X. Like, he actually did it. He went that far.
I'm not a big fan of Cyclops. I've always thought that he was a dick. Every comic iteration, every show iteration, the movies. Scott Summers is a
I hated him.
Yeah.
And I never built any type of appreciation or care for him, so...
But do we hate him because we all want to see Jean Grey hook up with Wolverine?
Yeah, pretty much. That's my vote.
So
No, because I hated him even
Wolverine pulls down his
before
pants.
I picked up on...
I mean, he always
that
did have
type
a kind of a
thing.
douchebagness about him, but I don't know. I think that I was already pre-exposed to a notion of Wolverine and Jean, so I suppose I was pre-tainted. I didn't ever get to see an era of Cyclops
Yeah.
and just Jean. It was already like, no, I've got a scared vision and I don't like this way. I want this great moment. This is the one I want.
Yeah.
So with all that happening in the 2000s, could you say that the 2000s was maybe a great moment in comic books because Marvel had a way of laying an egg, and 10 years that egg will hatch, and it'll become such a cool storyline because you'll look back 10 years ago and be like, oh, so that's when this shit started.
Being able to think that far ahead is definitely pretty cool and admirable.
Yeah.
Going to DC.
Honestly, I think the fact that comic books still exist through the 2000s is a great moment. The way technology has taken over, the fact that we still have paper printed comic books.
Comic book shops.
Well, they said in the late 90s was when comics were almost bankrupt. Like both companies, almost all three of them, because Image was like, they sunk themselves.
So I kind of see like a lot of the stuff is, you know, this is us fighting back. And, you know, it's kind of nice to be a part of that fight.
Well, the problem was...
So Civil War was that jump start they needed to get back into the storytelling game.
Well, I think I touched on earlier, a darker, gritty thing helped spark it back, but I don't know if that should be the way they keep it, though. They should... That
you don't always
help.
have to go down that path.
Yeah,
eventually that's going to get stale too.
Yeah.
You want to keep that as your wild card, you know.
It's funny you brought up like there should be like good moments, like good time moments, because I remember one of my favorite comics from the 90s X-Men run was actually the days before the wedding, and there was just one issue of them just reminiscing. The group is playing football, and Jean and Scott and Professor X are just kind of reminiscing how things are kind of going good for them again. It's a good day. It's a good
show. His claws in the football. You got
one more question for you here. Is Professor X also playing football because he can't be tackle football then?
Oh my.
Yeah, I had to go there.
I'm going there.
Was it tag or was it, you know, flag football? Because he could just hit it in high gear and go.
Use his telepathic mind, grab the ball and go.
Now, and I'm not sticking with the X-Men because they're my favorite, but I have to ask this because we're talking great moments. I'll go back to the Gambit secret, because once again that's another egg that they laid for years. Ghost Rider was chasing him. We was like, what the hell is Ghost Rider want with Gambit? Why does everybody have such a problem with Gambit? Bishop, there's something we don't know about this motherfucker. And when usually a secret is something like, oh well, I wet the bed or some shit like that, but he led the Morlock massacre. He led that charge. That was a big moment in comic book history, because that Morlock massacre still has ramifications to this day.
Wasn't that also around
Gambit had a part in that?
The time, say, I don't know when they released that information of the Morlock slaughter, was that also though around the time period that we were like, oh, Gambit is a clone of Mr. Sinister, which then flops all the way back there because Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse had a part to play in the whole Morlock massacre, which then gets into the like Archangel story arc of
that's how he lost his wings.
Yeah, and that was just a very big moment. So could that also be a way of the modern trying to borrow off of a great epic moment in the past and have to throw a little reel back there and pull a little bit of that story to the modern to help spring a better moment now for whatever they were aiming for in that arc? Because I do remember them saying that Gambit was like a clone of Mr. Sinister, and where that storyline went, I don't know. I didn't follow it.
That's a good point. There was so many ramifications that came out of that. I did not know about the clone. I didn't even know about Apocalypse being a part of that. But I do remember in one of those earlier X Factor comics, going back to that, the panel tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Of Angel pretty much was almost crucified with his wings pinned up against the wall. And I'm like, oh my god. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It was such an epic moment. You can go back to the 90s cartoon and they even redid a version of it in there to where it did like the whole massacre in the sewers kind of laid right over into the Age of Apocalypse kind of thing, which at that time we were going into the comic story of Age of Apocalypse when it was a very pivotal moment on pivotal moments because Charles Xavier and his son were trying to go back in time to that moment that Magneto turned evil. Ends up his son was going to kill Magneto and just fix all the future, and Charles Xavier ends up getting killed, and the whole world and universe all changed just off of one great moment that like led one character down another path to another path. Because after that, Magneto became the hero. He became the Charles Xavier. Age of Apocalypse was a pretty good storyline for the most part, and then when they tried to bring it back over into our world, it got really weird. That was, i.e., your Dark Beast.
Well, I think we've had a good time here talking about great moments.
We can talk about this stuff forever.
Yeah, so and you know the fans are probably sitting there going, "Oh God."
We just focus mostly on Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of stuff.
There's Archie versus Predator. I mean, that was a great moment for Predator.
There's tons of stuff
he killed
in the
a bunch of
Archie
teenagers.
universe, but these days Archie is he's kind of down on that third tier too.
Dick Tracy and the Sunday comics and what they represent. I mean, comics is all over the place and great moments in them. There's plenty to be found.
But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Low Country Giga Toshou Con, Omar.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that's what we're gearing up for this week coming up.
It's a week away.
Yeah,
it's been a long journey. So it's 1 week away. I'm very nervous. Being that this is my first run at this, and the Colleton County Memorial Library has been more than supportive, more than gracious, and I couldn't ask for better partners with this. Vicki Brown and Carl Coffin, thank you guys so much for backing me on this, for us coming together and creating such a wonderful idea for this town, for the kids of this town. It's cool to see so many people come together from an idea you just sprouted from your head.
Yeah.
And all of us sitting down, just really thinking and planning, and it's led to this. I couldn't ask for better people to work with on this. Aurelius Nova has been advertising us from coast to coast. We wouldn't have nowhere near the success if it wasn't for her. So Aurelius, thank you.
And I'm glad you said her
very
name.
much.
I was struggling even to pronounce that.
You'd be surprised how often I get that.
I can't even get certain cosplayers' names right without sounding like some, backwoods redneck,
Now, she's visited Walterboro 3 times.
We were trying to talk about it, I think, probably 2 or 3 months ago now, like when we first got with you about doing a con, and we were going to talk about her book and stuff, but he was like, I don't know how to say her name.
Yeah,
I was like, I know what her website says, but it doesn't sound right when I say it, and we were just like, Aurelius.
I've heard Ari.
We'll just go Nova. How about that? Just A Nova.
It's like, hey.
And then something else ended up coming up that, not to take away from her, but was a little more time sensitive, important to talk about, and then we just never kind of got back to talking about her.
Sorry. But
So
anyway.
sometimes it's all in the name. Like I'll have to read somebody's ticket, like Mr. Shit.
Mr. M.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've actually tried to make it sound hip, like I really like you, so I'm gonna call you Mr. M. I guess I don't have any other choice.
So anyway, getting back to it, Omar, tell us a little bit about what we can expect at Low Country Giga Toshou Con.
Oh gosh, there's gonna be a little bit and a lot of everything. We have a Chewbacca growl contest, which I've been practicing and gearing up for. We have a
Get a demo?
no.
He's saving that for the
Oh
tournament.
yeah. I want you looking and doing research.
That'd be like kind of Yu-Gi-Oh!
And you're watching
Zodiac.
unboxing videos.
I wanted
like
to see your
that.
technique and what you was doing there.
Omar says that's
He'll be at home reviewing like, yeah, I'll beat that son of a bitch.
grab the Adam's apple and just sling it the whole time,
Be like an accident on the way home and I can't talk. And that's all sabotage.
Yeah.
Now
I
we
see some kid sitting in the corner.
We know there's probably going to be one smartass that's going to get up there and be like, Hootini!
And I bet you he's just sitting here in the room right
Oh,
now.
absolutely, yeah.
Josh will run out in the Jawa costume, turn his flashlights on and just blast.
No, I think I'm already booked somewhere else during that.
Costumes, there's going to be tons of cosplay contests. The first two, which is the handmade as well as the store-bought children's costumes, will be taking place at noon. And then we'll have the grand finale, which will be the young adult, handmade, and store-bought costumes. There's nothing wrong with a store-bought costume, because there's some really awesome costumes.
Yeah.
on those websites. Party City, I highly recommend checking them out. This is where those 10-cent
What
plugs
about a
start
little
coming
mix and match?
Oh, like you buy parts from.
Like buy a store-bought costume, but build your own props.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Where would that fall into?
that the sky's the limit with that. I would say that would fall into the crafty, the build your own costume, because you added something to that.
Yeah, you made it yours.
So there's no limitations in what you can do.
Oh no! Well, I mean, hell, Rhodey's caught the War Machine. He stole that from Iron Man and added a bunch of guns, and that was his. You know, he kept it. He told, like, I'm keeping this.
The only rule so far is keep it clean.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no Jubilees hanging out. You know,
no,
your Wolverine can't be hanging loose. Nothing like that.
We do have a tribunal headed by another awesome artist and vendor, Ashley Ware, and her word is pretty much law. If she says it doesn't meet our guidelines, that's it, pal. You're gonna have to walk back to your car and throw on a potato sack or whatever. You're gonna have to change it up.
My naked Deadpool costume, that's a no-go, right?
I was gonna do John Holmes. I was gonna come to. I mean, he's a comic book hero, isn't he?
I had to choose between two costumes. I was going to either come in as Beast or Louis C.K. I just want like a sweaty black T-shirt and jeans and dye my hair red. And I don't know. I'm still torn, but I think I'm gonna go with Beast.
So Josh, you had a couple of things you wanted to.
Well, he's still talking about.
Oh yeah, sorry.
There. You trying to take
No,
thunder from the man?
I'm not trying to take the thunder from the man.
Kill the great moment.
Thunder.
I'm watching my battery and it's like, hey, you just letting you know.
Speaking of Thunder, Thundercade. Thundercade is going to be an event within an event. It's going to be a once in a lifetime arcade experience. We're going to have Mario Kart as well as Super Smash Bros. Tournaments. There'll be Magic the Gathering casual as well as tourneys taking place in there. Pokemon Go, and I think the ratings just shot up as soon as I said that.
Yeah.
Exclusive rare one.
Great, we went from 10 to 12.
I wish. But there are tons of Pokemon in those grounds. I've hunted there quite a few times myself.
Right there in the library?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. And
that's where I need to go.
We're actually going to be giving out cards for any Pokemon that you catch while supplies last.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to come around this area because there's nothing but Rattatas.
So, speaking of Pokemon Go, we're going to have a booth set up in the Thundercade, and we're going to be selling, ToC merchandise, but we're also going to have 3 exclusive designs for Pokemon Go, teams Mystic, Valor, and Instinct. So, you want it on a shirt, you can get notebooks with the stuff on it, and you can even get a phone case. So, represent your team.
Absolutely. And kudos to all the players in town coming together. I've seen so many people on Main Street just really taking part in this, young, old alike, families, people just making new friends, and everybody keeping it a clean fight. Kudos to that. And I can't wait to see what you guys catch out there in the grounds. We have 3 major cosplay groups coming out. We have the 501st
Awesome
Legion, which I know everybody's looking forward to.
Yeah.
We have the Signal, very awesome, well-known cosplay group, and they're bringing with them Catwoman and Batman. And we also have one of my personal favorites, Dark Matter. I met these guys during my birthday, and they are they're a multi-superhero cosplay group. But when they did the X-Men, that just made my day. Oh God, I was as giddy as a schoolgirl. I was just starstruck. I absolutely love the groups we got coming in. Our featured author, of course, going back to Arlias Nova, I can't talk about her enough. You folks, you Walterburians and Colletonians, this child is responsible for putting us on such a large radar among other cons and other groups throughout the country. Arlias has been there really advertising this town and giving us a good look. So I can't praise her enough. I really can't. We're going to be doing superhero pictures all day long with different cosplay groups. And Jessica Cartrette, Forever Framed Photography, will be taking these pictures. I don't know how she's working the deals out exactly. I don't want to misquote prices, but she's got some really awesome stuff cooking. And right next to her will be Miss Drawdy, who's going to be doing free face painting all day long. I might go to her for my beast face. I don't know yet. I'm ill practiced when it comes to makeup. You guys heading Thundercade commentary. I can't thank y'all enough for
we're excited about it.
and doing all day interviews. This is like the Jim Ross and Jerry King Lawler of nerds. I can't.
Oh my God, he's pulling out a chair! He's got a chair!
On top of that, it's all going to be live streamed right here on YouTube.
Yeah, right here on
YouTube.
Triforce of Chaos. So.
And
Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Something I haven't heard about.
I have made sure that it will be okay to simultaneously stream it on Twitch,
Oh my god.
which is primarily for video games, but
That is rad. That is epic, man. Holy cow. That's... I really have to get my costume up to speed. Millions of people are going to see my tacky or really well done costume here.
so if
Go
you
with the
prefer
showgirl
Twitch
outfit.
over YouTube, it's
Head
going to be
over
there too.
Heck yeah. For you folks that can't make it out there, definitely check out the Triforce of Chaos channel and watch it all day long. We're going to be doing tons of interviews. Oh gosh, the granddaddy. I can't forget this. We have some actors from The Walking Dead that are going to be there. Thank you to Rebecca Eggers of the Fans of Carol Walking Dead fan club, who not only got these guys to come and make an appearance, but she's also been the one leading the charge with donations and making sure we can put on the best show possible.
Awesome.
Vendors plenty, and all these vendors I've had the pleasure of meeting, whether it be on Facebook or personally, and these guys are such a tight-knit family. I can't thank them enough, and I think some cons kind of overlook them and don't appreciate their presence, but vendors, in my opinion, truly do make the con, so I thank you guys for coming out. Just bear with us. This is our first run. Spacing, obviously, plan ahead. And this for all attendees. Just think about carpooling. There's going to be spaces.
It's going to be hot,
park.
so start hydrating the day before.
Oh gosh, yeah. Because we're going to have free water out there as long as supplies last. Just get out there, carpool, have a good time. Understand space is going to be a little limited, but that's a good thing for this town. I really think overall this con is going to do really well.
And like I said, we're going to be streaming it, YouTube and Twitch, so if for some reason you can't make it, you can still catch the show from home.
Absolutely. John's going to be outside in the dunking booth, and we're
This is news to me, but okay, cool.
oh yeah, what better time to announce this?
Hey, he just said it was going to be hot as hell, so that's the best place to be in the whole damn show.
Yeah.
Dunkin' booth.
Hot boiling water.
Oh shit.
There's
You
a
didn't
couple
say
of other
that.
surprises along the way. We will also be selling the Low Country Giga Toshou Con t-shirts at our booth. And all proceeds that we receive from that will go
Go to the
Straight to
library.
the library.
That is. I can't thank the library enough.
and
It's such
I've
a
arranged to
simple
make
point.
sure that all of those designs will be 30% off regular price that whole weekend.
Yeah, so you definitely got to stop by, check out our merch shop.
You
Lots of
want
awesome
if you
stuff.
want if you want a Team Mystic shirt, instead of paying $20, you'll only be paying $14.
Yeah, that's cheaper, and you'll get it on Amazon.
Heck yeah. Our
That's the
flagship
cheapest
vendor.
I can get you.
By the way, Josh, you joined Team Mystic, right?
Oh boy!
Oh, Team Instinct.
And we're gonna go around this yellow guy here. Oh, you.
He's on the yellow, I'm on red. You don't want to.
I don't have.
blue. This is
I'm an
a
island to
high five.
myself, and I'll take that high five back.
No, I'm on blue with you.
Oh, we got two blues.
We did the nerd kind of
Team
pause
red
there
and
for a
yellow
second.
can come together for us.
So anyway,
Our flagship vendor, I gotta bring these guys up, Soundwave Comics, will be your biggest source for comics, toys, collectibles. We have, I know Greg's gonna say a couple of words of inspiration, but we have Holly Griffin and Comic Book John Reyes coming out, and I love these guys to death. I can't thank Soundwave enough for being a part of this and an integral part of this. I am really blessed and fortunate to have these guys attending.
They're probably all sleeping right now.
Our con. Oh yeah, they just came off a major con themselves out in Hand-to-Hand last night, or yesterday morning I should say. I wish I could have been
Captain
there,
America's shield.
but I heard they did really well and much deserved. These guys have always always looked out for kids in their community, in their town, and I'm very proud to have them aboard. So thank you guys. Music. We have DJ booths. Jenny Garvin will be doing music all day long. One of the best DJs in the business from Just Love Music. I can't thank her enough. She's going to be playing some really hip tunes. She's going to be playing some anime songs, a little nerdcore stuff, some familiar themes from video games. You get to hear your little Legend of Zelda intro.
Nice. Nice.
We might be piping some music into the Thundercade as well.
Nice.
I'm working on that.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
If we don't run into the technical difficulties Fairy anymore in the past, in the next few days we'll be all right, because she attacked us all last week. So I think we're back to normal.
There we go. Thundercade will be hosted by the one and only Spencer Jacobs and Steven. Once again, it's one of those last names, just like Arlia, so Steven, forgive me, but Steven, formerly of GameStop. Awesome, Steven. See, I just renamed you.
Yeah, Steven, formerly of GameStop.
You're awesome, Steven, formerly of GameStop. That's going to be on your credit card and everything now. So.
The game artist formerly known as Steven.
We should totally get a shirt that says that. Give him his own symbol and logo and everything.
Yeah. Someone's working on it. Get an old Nintendo controller.
A lot of restaurants in town will be partaking in the event. They'll be coming with some really awesome menus and one-day specials. Main Street Grill, in particular, is going to have a 10% discount, I believe.
Nice.
If you mention the con.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Great food.
In fact, meal of choice, I highly recommend the Highwayman Burger.
Is that one of your little creations there, or?
No, that is not a creation of mine. That was a creation of the former chef that was working there, and actually it's one of the damn things I hate to cook the most of all.
I can see where
That
it could be
son
a
of a
pain in the
bitch
ass,
takes
but
forever.
it tastes amazing.
That's the awesome part about it, but it takes a while to get one, so if you're looking to be in a hurry, I don't recommend ordering one of those. It takes about 20 minutes almost.
But basically, the short and skinny of it is an awesome burger inside of a puff pastry.
Loaded with cheese and bacon.
And ranch and goodness, and it's great.
Oh, man.
But
that just screams like that. That just sounds like that would be the Broforce meal of choice right there.
Cardiologist is going to come around the corner like, I'll see you real soon.
But that's my personal recommendation if you shoot over there.
Yeah. So.
Heck yeah. Anybody I missed, I'm sorry. I'm trying to name as many people as I can. Like, this is an awards show.
Yeah.
But thank everybody for coming together and just making this event happen. And most importantly, thank you, the attendees, the viewers. This is all done for you. This is all my way of saying thank you.
Most important question: how much are the tickets?
Tickets. They're the whopping price of $0.00. The event is absolutely free. The events within the event, such as the cosplay contest, Thundercade, all of these are absolutely free. I do believe the library is taking donations of sorts. You'll have to get up with Mr. Carl Coffin to get the details on that, but just like any other establishment, donations are most certainly welcome, and they're all certainly going to a good cause, because the library has done so many awesome and free events over the years. Once again, I just can't think of a better partner to have with this. I find the library my personal form of sanctuary ever since I was a kid. Libraries have always been one of the most important parts of a community, in my opinion. So I'm very, very honored to have them as partners with this. This idea was just as much theirs as it is mine, working together, coming up with everything from the name to the execution of this. We are very proud to be working together with this, and thank you guys for believing in my idea and taking off with it. Once again, if I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I'll get you next year.
So anyway,
or just come over to our booth and be like, "Hey, you forgot me," and then it's on the internet forever.
Yeah, you'll be on the internet, angry face and all. You forgot me.
Although there be plenty of those now.
Yeah.
Well, the most obscure things to say, like while we're going live.
Yeah. So anyway, so Omar, I figured since we're talking Low Country Giga Toshou Con and we're talking Thundercade and we're talking comic books and all that, why not change it up for a little bit and go with who's your favorite Smash Brothers character as our Low Country as our talking point for this week, because Thundercade's going to be an integral part of in that Smash Brothers tournament. I'm excited for that, because
yes, we will be broadcasting that from hopefully start to finish.
Yeah.
I know there's no set time as to when it's going to start as of yet, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with other stuff that's already been scheduled with the vendors and us. Because we will be roaming around as well, visiting vendors, doing interviews, showing their stuff off.
Yeah,
but
we're going to...
I think you should get like your own animal, almost like that little talking dog with a cigar that like
Triumph. I keyed. So anyway.
But when Smash Brothers starts, we will be back into Thundercade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's gonna
And
be
all
epic.
eyes will be on that.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people have been practicing, gearing up for that, and we're gonna do it's gonna be first come, first serve. When you sign up that day, you're automatically in. Can't guarantee spaces for everybody, obviously, but just get there early and sign up that day. That'll be your best bet, and that goes for Mario Kart as well. Also, Naruto Ninja
Now,
Storm.
I think the way the schedule is, when it comes to Mario Kart, if you want to be a part of that, you're going to have to be there pretty much when doors open.
Oh yeah, because
Because that's going to start at noon.
That's gonna be early.
Or 11:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you want to sign up for that, you pretty much got to be there, doors open, sign up.
Oh, absolutely. I recommend that with anything that's happening. Get there
And
early.
I
and
think
push it
Smash
in.
Brothers is going to be later on. I think probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. But
Just because
nothing
there's gonna be so
set,
many names
Yeah.
to go through. It's gonna be a four-player melee, and go up for 3 minutes, and whoever survives that goes on the tourney.
But anyway, we can... yeah, we went off topic again, but that's okay.
Well, it wasn't completely
Yeah, it
off
was off
topic.
topic. No, it was important.
My
So,
answer's quick. It's gonna be Bowser.
Yeah.
Bowser's always been my guy. I always pick the biggest guy in video games. I'm gonna call my cousin out here, Chris Tolliver. He remembers me wiping out entire teams with Juggernaut Omar versus Capcom 2, and he's gonna practice and kick my ass just for me saying that. But yeah, I'm going with Bowser. Bowser's always been my guy.
Yeah.
My guy of choice. Just a nasty big son of a bitch.
Which I've got him actually looking over your shoulder, right there on the top of the set. That was one of my new pickups. So, how about you, John?
I'm a Link guy. I like fast, quick, got a little defense, got a little nice slash going on.
But he is a
Yeah.
nasty bastard now.
Plus, I'm just a Legend of Zelda fan, always have been.
Yeah,
so
that's-
if I get the
that's me all the way
opportunity
through.
to play with Link, it's happening. That sounded dirty, but
I guess it's my turn.
Jigglypuff.
Yeah, that's it. If we're talking
Just like playing with
OG
Jigglypuff.
Smash Brothers N64, definitely Link. Smash Wii U, I've become more accustomed to using either Zero Suit Samus or Rosalina. Link is still my third, but my primary is currently Zero Suit Samus.
Samus has always been the
So if I end up being in the Smash Brothers contest, nobody picks somebody good against Zero Suit Samus. I don't think I'm gonna be able to participate though.
No, I'm not gonna be able to either.
No, because I can hear Josh right now. Oh God, Josh, just use the hammer.
But I like Zero Suit Samus because, like Link, she's fast, but she's a lot more fast.
Yeah.
She's not strong at all, but I can use that quickness to my advantage.
Yeah.
But they got quite a few extra bounces in their step too when it comes to getting back on the platform and all that. She's known to get out of bad situations.
She's pretty nimble.
She's known to get out of really bad situations.
And she's a lightweight character too, so when you get thrown, you float a little. You don't just drop.
Yeah.
See with Bowser, unless I time that little spin spiky just perfect, his big ass is shooting down.
Man, you drop like a rock.
Oh man, that's it for him.
So that's pretty much it for our Teamsters there. For our Fansers, we had Katie, who writes Link. Will, he wrote Meta Knight and Cloud Strife. And Nemariel, yeah, I guess that's how I say that. I've never learned how to say that. She's answered a few times. Says, never played it, but I've seen others play. If I ever did play it, I'd probably try out Kirby or Yoshi because I'd want to see what they can do.
They eat people.
Yeah,
Kirby's not bad. Kirby's not a bad character.
Kirby
So
sucks.
Kirby is
Literally.
actually pretty versatile. If you play as Kirby as your main,
Yeah.
you gotta have a lot of knowledge because you basically play as every other character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby's kind of like the
eat
Moku
Mario,
Gene off of
you get
Tekken.
Mario's attributes, you get his powers.
Yeah.
You eat Cloud, you get Cloud's attributes, you get his powers.
Do you get the spiky hair?
Yes.
And the attitude.
So Kirby, I consider if you are a Kirby master in Smash Brothers, you're pretty top tier in my book.
Yeah.
That means you learn all other 51 characters.
That's like morphing into Shang Tsung.
Like Shane, I was just about to say
Yeah.
that.
Or Moku Gene off of
Now, Will with Meta Knight, Meta Knight's a nasty character. Especially if you know what you're doing with him, you practice with him,
Yeah, Meta Knight's the reason I stopped playing Smash Bros.
and we're not banning any characters, but I think traditionally Meta Knight's usually on that ban list for most tourneys, just because he's just a cheap son of a bitch.
Well, they kind of fixed that in Wii U.
Balanced him out, and
And I always get Melee and Brawl confused as to which one he's banned in, but he's banned in that one for a reason. Because he just has this OP move that you just chain it together and there's no recovering from it.
Spammers take advantage of
Yeah.
it.
You don't get, all of your inputs get killed by this one move, so I can understand him being banned there.
Yeah.
I think they rebalanced it in Wii U.
To win by spamming is cheap anyhow. There's no real success in a spam win.
Yeah.
It's like sweep kicking somebody in Mortal Kombat and what did you achieve? You swept kicked me to death. Let me stand up once.
so that's how I feel about people that play like those like Marvel vs. Capcom kind of games. Like anyone that picks Guile or Ryu or Spider-Man, I just automatically think you're cheap as shit. It's a cheap shot artist with that. Like, it takes skill to learn those other guys.
Yeah.
Like Thor, because he smashes things with his hammer.
Thor is nice in MVC3. It's pretty cool. Now Mario is like the cheapest one to obviously like overall best one to practice with and learn introduction wise if you're first time in Smash
his
Brothers.
set is probably the cleanest. He's the
Easy to
most
pull up the moves
well-rounded
and-
defense, offense.
Yeah.
He's the
Speed.
Ryu of
Yeah.
which Ryu I think is in the new one.
Yeah, he actually is.
As DLC.
Yeah.
It is important to say that this tournament will not include any DLC characters
No, just
Yeah,
a
it's all
fresh
just clean.
or
fresh start.
any extra unlocks. It's default character list only.
Very very good point. Very good
Because
point.
that was something that we and Steve talked about for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very good point. Yeah, I just like the franchise. I think it was the perfect game to go with. It's very friendly. There's no blood and gore, which I'm not knocking blood and gore, but just keep in mind it's going to be all ages
Yeah.
willing to jump in on this. It's easy to pick up and play. Even watching some of the tourneys at other cons on videos, like young kids can hold their own with this. I've got my ass handed to me by someone rocking Pikachu many a time.
And they can talk some trash.
Oh yeah. They can back it
Princess
up.
Toast still will shake her peaches.
It's one of those games. There's every character has an opportunity to overpower somebody else. I don't care if you're using that little Pikmin guy or what was
Yeah, Olimar.
Olimar. It's a very versatile game, and anybody.
If you learn your character, if you've learned your character properly, you are even with anybody else.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it just takes that one lucky hit, knocking somebody's ass in orbit, and you win.
Just like me with Zero Suit Samus. She has very little strength, but she's got speed out the ass.
A few quick jabs.
Yeah, so just come in, bap, 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 and then, hop up to the top before you can get hit off. get distracted by another player, come in, bap, bap, bap. They're kinda, some people say that's cheap shots, but that's how that character plays.
Now, what tips would you give people that are just now picking this up and they want to get in the tournament? I guess learn how to get back on the platforms, number one.
Yeah.
Pick up a GameCube controller. Playing it with the Wiimote and the gamepad, it's bulky, your inputs get 8 on the Wiimote. It's a little pricey, but if I had to make a recommendation, get the GameCube adapter that plugs straight into the console and get a wired GameCube controller. They make a GameCube controller that plugs into the bottom of the Wiimote.
Yes, they do.
But, Wiimote dies, your controller's worthless.
Yeah, you're pretty much just sitting
If
there
you're
going,
wired
"Oh,
straight
God."
into the console, you can play
Yeah,
All the way
nonstop.
long day.
72 hours straight. But I just feel like I've always felt like a wired controller, your inputs are more direct than wireless.
Yeah.
So Smash Brothers is a fast-paced beat 'em up. If you're playing with friends who are experienced and you're brand new to it, that wire could keep you from getting as discouraged. Because your friends are going to beat you up the first time
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
But
And those veterans are really
But when you
hard to play
push
with,
B and you punch, versus when you push 2 on the Wiimote and it's, there's like an extra half second there. And it might not transmit perfectly.
Yeah.
So, I would recommend GameCube controller. Preferably wire, but if you get the one that plugs into the Wiimote, you'll have more control.
Better control, learn how to get on the platform. What do you guys got to offer?
Just pick a character you feel like you could be comfortable with, and sit down and play with them and figure them out.
Absolutely.
If it's a character you love, go with it.
Pick 3 or 5 characters right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright. I'm gonna go Mario, Link,
Ganon.
Sheik, Armored Samus, and Pikachu. Play with each character for a couple of hours and see which one fits you.
Yeah.
Fits the play style. Because they're so adaptable, they really are.
And if you played, well, like you said, this is kind of their first go, but if they played something with a friend one time, and maybe they like that character when playing with them, try to figure out the new set moves that have come out with this newer game, or, if it's been a while for you, and you're rusty, try to figure out how the controls relate to the old game. Like, for instance, Josh said with the controller, it's pretty much the same thing. So,
Learn your stages, because we are not picking stages. It's going to be randomly generated. Learn to use them to your advantage, because that F-Zero stage I always had a problem
What
with.
about item spawns? Are they going to be enabled or disabled?
Oh, absolutely. I want all kinds of carnage happening with this. Oh, yeah, let the
Then learn
mushrooms
your
fly.
items.
yeah, learn what your items can do for you. But
The bumper is an amazing asset if you can use it right.
This is true.
yeah.
Not only words of
Especially
wisdom for the kids.
I'm not a very big player too much. I'm like an amateur myself, so I wouldn't give them no good information. They'd probably end up getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, good secret technique, specifically with the bumper. You got them flying off, they're coming back, they're going to be able to grab the edge. Slap that bumper down on the corner.
Oh,
That is dirty when it works.
Learn your items.
holy crap. I never thought of that.
The bumper is probably the most hated and unappreciated item in the whole game, but it's probably one of the most uniquely powerful.
And whenever you put that bumper down in the corner, just practice your best Scar impersonation, from Lion King. All hail the king.
Damn.
Bumper.
I gotta download this and see this thing in play. This sounds nasty. It sounds like a game changer, obviously, but it is.
Yeah, it's.
It's just, slap it down,
I need to get a Wii U just so I can.
walks up to it,
Oh my god.
and it's just like pinball bumpers.
Which, by the way, that's a heavy joker right there.
Yeah, it is.
Damn, that's wrong. See, like, it's not just the character, it's the stages for me, because the old Nintendo one, I remember the F-Zero, the cars would come by every couple of seconds, and I would always get nailed by these things. It's something about that stage, I just can't beat it.
Planet Z from Metroid, you got the yellow toxic lava that comes up and hurts you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Castle, you got a wind tornado that comes up every now and then.
Didn't Star Fox have a nasty one?
R-Wings would come in and shoot you off of the Great Fox.
Oh.
Yeah, that would just piss me off right there. I'd be like,
That would. That sounds like a bad.
But you could use the R-Wings as a platform too. So like they're flying or hovering, you can hop up and ride the R-Wing. Now get off up before it flies off the stage, or else you lose a stock.
Yeah.
So somebody's real nimble, like Samus. They can.
That's something you can take advantage of.
Yeah.
That's a defense point, and this platform is offensive as well.
God, because my big bastard, by the time Bowser gets up there, the damn thing will be gone.
Yeah. So anyway, we won't have a point for this week just because we're getting our stuff done for Low Country Giga Toshou Con, so I won't be able to focus my time on answering all that. Plus, we'll be streaming it, so I doubt I'll be wanting to do a talking points the next.
Yeah, I have a feeling that with recovery from next weekend, we may not have a talking points.
Yeah.
For the first time in 73 weeks.
Yeah, in 73 weeks, we will not have a talking point. So.
Unless we pre-tape something on Tuesday or something.
Yeah. So
or might have time to edit together a highlight.
Yeah,
reel
it'll
from
probably.
the con.
That's what we can do. We can do a highlight.
Now, I can't guarantee that because we're talking
24 hours.
Well, it's not 24 hours, but we're talking.
I meant time between.
We're talking a good solid 7 to 8 hours of footage from that. I'm probably not even gonna have enough time to go through to look for highlights.
Yeah.
Too busy looking for nipple slips and abusive language.
Josh will be looking at all the Harley Quinn costumes of overaged.
We've thrown comments and information on the page and the schedule and all that's been posted that we will be coming around, and quite a few people have messaged me and be like, would it be possible for you to meet us at our booth at such time? So we've got a few of those lined up. So
awesome.
Not going to be enough time to be searching for that. Actually, I don't think we will even be available to be at the cosplay contests. I think we're already tied up.
I can totally record it with the phone.
we might have
let
to
you guys kind of edit it and.
Well, we might have to set up a camera there and just hit record and walk away.
Yeah, maybe put someone we can trust at the camera and be like, don't move.
Which has been done before.
Yeah.
Funny story. The footage from the Soda City cosplay contest, I'd say probably 90% of that footage was done from a GoPro that actually went up to the barricade before the stage, reached over the barricade and wedged it in where they've connected two pieces of the gate together. So it's just wedged in looking up at the stage. Had no idea if it was going to get good footage because GoPros don't have view screens, or they didn't in the 3 models. The 4s have them, but I had
the knockoff Chinese version I got came with a screen, but it's a volume, or its audio is just.
But yeah, that was basically just set a camera in place, hit record, and hope for the best. And I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it turned out great compared to my little Samsung camera that really.
Yeah, we actually had 3 cameras rolling on that, and for the most part, only the GoPro footage was usable because it was the only one that was catching the light right.
Yeah.
Damn.
My Samsung camera was like, I don't know how to do this. Stop. Leave it out. Go away. Stop it, Ron.
So that might have to be something that gets done if we end up being overbooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which we can do that.
But I know we definitely want to visit Soundwave at some point early in the day. We definitely want to be set up for the opening statements. I can't call his name, but the one that's running the Lego Expo.
Mr. Heap, Mr. Andrew Heap.
He wants us to swing by, I think around noon-ish. definitely gonna get with Ari at some point in the afternoon.
Walking Dead. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot to get to.
Leslie has contacted us about coming to check out her bug thing.
Yes, Leslie Urcho, the bug lady. She was an absolute hit the last time she came to the library. And
I'll send Eric to do that because he's afraid of bugs.
No, I don't mind bugs. I hate spiders.
Oh, I'm sure she'll have those.
Oh yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, you're doing that interview then. That spider.
I can almost guarantee she's gonna have like some big
Giant.
Omar fist-sized tarantula for you to pick up. That's all you.
No, this is all you do. I'm not touching any fucking spiders. You will see me look at that thing and go, by the gods, and die. I will die right there. Omar will have to look at me and go, well, damn.
Queen of Chibi Land, Casey Murray will be out there. I know Casey's a really huge hit around the cosplay community, and she's gonna be doing some really cool tutorials on how to build your own costume, how to build your own cosplay. She'll be in the children's department as well with Leslie, the Bug Girl, and the Lego guy, and like we're just giving all these superhero names to everybody.
Yeah. Lego Man, Bug Girl.
Well, it's common.
Well, the toy guy got stuck with me, and it's like, all right, I'll run with it.
And we're Talk guys. We're the Talk twins. Talk twin powers activate. Turn into foul mouth.
We gotta come up with something for you, like the comic book man. Well, AMC. I'm sorry.
You have to work on it.
Comic guru.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
The comic guru.
Mr. Thor.
The authority.
The authority.
Get you one of those Swami hats like in the old booths that tells your fortune.
Yeah.
Many children.
That's how you should set a table up. You should set a booth up in the little Swami fortune teller thing.
Yeah.
Like the old Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Do the Wizard of Oz thing with the
Drop
ball.
a quarter, ask a comic question.
The Great Number 10.
Does Spider-Man die? It just points to yes or no.
For 50 cents, he can live. If you don't pay, I'll tell you a story of how he died.
Outlook not so good.
But it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a hectic day. It's gonna be a lot of running around.
There's gonna be a lot of stops to Louis' liquor store right after.
And
we're just gonna go around and collect our kickbacks from all these.
Yeah, all these advertisements we've done in one episode.
And hopefully we have no equipment failures.
Yeah, the TDF hates us. Which, by the way, if you've never met the TDF, you'll see her on some of our videos eventually.
Wasn't that the thing that was chasing John Connor in the second Terminator movie? Or
No. We're talking technical difficulties.
Okay. The TF. Oh.
Yeah. She hit us during our Duke Nukem Forever playthrough.
Yeah, console just completely froze.
That is like my favorite time in a video ever. I had never laughed so hard in my
It
life.
froze in the middle of like when I can't remember if I was shooting or if I was taking damage, but it froze and the controller vibrate motor just.
Yeah, all you can hear all the time is.
And it stayed like that until you turn the console off.
And, we had former teammate Will with us the whole time. He's over there laughing. I'm on the floor at this point. I can't keep it up. I can't just. I'm gone. I'm done.
Damn, man.
And I'm just like.
And what makes it so good is Josh is like, well.
I guess that's the end of this series. Thank you for tuning in.
Let's stop. We won't be coming back to this anymore. That was the only time Josh's tone changed. We won't be doing this anymore. So anyway, I guess that wraps up this episode of Talking Points.
So, next Saturday, July 23rd.
Big day.
Doors open 10 a.m.
Doors open 10
At Dalton County
a.m.
Memorial
Go down and
Library.
check it out.
Completely free.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Other than items that you choose to purchase.
Yeah. So anyway,
Bring
Speaking
yourselves,
of-
bring your best friends, bring your grandma, bring the Wanda gardeners, bring whoever you want.
bring the pool boy.
There you go. Just bring somebody.
Favorite action figure?
Just come on down, have a good time. Have a good time on us. This is our way of giving back to the community, and we want you guys to have fun and have a day to get together and make new friends and exchange gamer tags and kick some butt in tournaments and
Support the vendors. Try to buy something.
absolutely.
Support the library.
sign up for a library card.
Well, and there'll be a good opportunity to sign for a library card. Absolutely, definitely.
Maybe
Definitely get your read on.
They took mine away.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can check out Country Giga Toshou Con. Wow, I'm all kinds of stutter today. On Facebook. Again, tune in on September 23rd. We'll be broadcasting
July 23rd.
Okay, I'm done. Josh, you take it from
You
here.
just killed it by 2 months.
Yeah, I know. So check it this weekend, July 23rd. Only here on Triforce of Chaos.
Some poor group from North Carolina's gonna come down in September.
Yeah.
Where's the con?
I'm at this library and they're closed. What's going on?
What the hell's going on?
So yeah, links for everything in the description.
below.
As was dropped on Omar earlier, be streaming live here on YouTube and on Twitch, so you get to make a choice.
Yeah. Choice is yours.
There's a lot of choices to make. Pokemon team and streaming video, and
Choose wisely.
there you go.
Team Red or Team Purple.
Who's your favorite girl from Three's Company? A lot of choices to make.
Yeah.
A lot of choices to make.
Make a choice on your Pokemon Go team. Represent by buying a shirt.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And if you're at home and want to buy a shirt, it'll be available online as well. So
Yeah. But you better pick it up that day.
Oh yeah, while supplies
yeah,
last.
it'll only be on sale for that weekend, and they might not be available after that weekend.
So again, thanks for watching, and as always, keep talking.
So, did you like that video? If so, click my Bodacious Surfing to subscribe. And if you want to watch another video, I don't know, there's probably another annotation on the screen somewhere. Find it and click it.
Yeah.